Hello everybody, this is BKC back in Planet Explorers. Today you might notice things look a little different. What I want to do is I've been getting some requests about the creation system. I don't really show the creation system in my playthrough because basically for me this is a sandbox game and you can do whatever you want. And once I get in there, I end up saying, oh, let me build this. Then next thing you know, I get a cool idea and I end up building something completely different. And it would turn into like a 6-hour episode and nobody would watch that. So since I've been getting questions about it, I want to kind of go over some of the features. And I might even turn this into a new series. Let me know what you think. But today what we're going to focus on is most people get Planet Explorers. They play anywhere between first hour to 6, 8, 10 hours, just depending on how you progress, how well you grasp the game. And you get to a quest where a diesel wants you to build a vehicle to take her for a ride in it. And they show you the creation system. And most people have no clue what to do. So today I'm going to try to go over that. I'm going to try to keep it as short and sweet as possible. We're just going to make a basic vehicle, something that can get you through that mission, and kind of go over some of the tools and the tricks and stuff like that. It may take more than one episode because there is a lot to cover here, but today we're going to go over the basics. And I might do like an episode of creating each vehicle and just cut to the beginning of some of the things I'm doing and then cut to the end of the project at the end. And I'm in build mode, which lets me bring it into the vehicle, into the world, where you can actually see it live on the spot. And basically build mode, you just go in there, you go to single player, you go into build mode, and if you go to your inventory, you basically have everything max statted out. So you have resources. I mean, they give you the scanner apps, but there's no point in it because you don't need to mine because you have unlimited resources. You can put on any suit in the game. You can play with anything in the game you want to play with. And so I usually come in here. If it's a long project from the main menu, you can just go to create and just open the editor, which is a little faster. You don't have to create a character to do that. So upon opening the creation screen, which you use the little tank icon, you're confronted with this. And most people are just like, oh my God, what do we do? First thing you want to do is you want to come over here and you want to select what do you want to create. You have a sword, a shield, a gun, a vehicle, an aircraft, a ship, or an object, and you get different sizes for different things. Today we're going to be creating a vehicle, and we're going to start off with a small. Okay, what do we have here? This is our building field. This is what we have, and we have the parts that you can build with, and you only want to build with parts that you actually have built into the game. So if I go and I take this side seat and I put it in there, if I don't have one built in the game, I cannot use it. I cannot put this into my game. So you don't want to build for stuff in story mode for sure. If you don't have the script for the specific thing, like these large tires, if you don't have this doesn't come till later in the game. If you don't have the script for that, don't use it in your vehicle. So let me just delete that real quick. And for a Odysseus quest, basically what you have is a cockpit type 1. So I'll put that in the game. You have your wooden wheels. I'm not going to put those in right now because I'm going to show you why in a minute. You have the fuel cell right here. And then you have this engine type 1. And basically what I do is I just drag my parts out to start. It gives me my reference for size, and it lets me see the objects. Now the second thing you need to learn how to do is move parts around. You move your parts with this. I don't know what that even does. This thing, I guess, is just turn parts off. Okay. This little crosshair right here, this lets you brings up these little crosshairs and lets you move items around, and depending on what little bar you grab, and that lets you move any item you click on, and just lets you move stuff around. And then this little turnaround icon does the same thing, but it works, lets you rotate an object. So if you want to turn something 90 degrees, you look on the screen, it gives you 90. I try to stick with multiples, 90, and then say if I wanted to turn it this way, lay it on its end, I grab this one and I make sure I turn it 90. And then let's say if I just want to put it behind the seat, I can grab my tiller bar and then I can just move it behind my seat. Okay. Then the next thing you need to do is you need to pay attention to this inspector over here. What the inspector does is it tells you your positioning. So if I just wanted to move this fuel cell over a little bit, I could type in the numbers directly, 1.5, and then click apply, and it will move. It's a little difficult to do it like that, but the rotation gives you an idea of, see, it's rotated 90 degrees on the y-axis, it's rotated 90 degrees on the z-axis, and scaling is the other thing you can do with this. You can, let's say this fuel cell, say I just didn't want to use it as a fuel cell, say I want to use it like a fork on a motorcycle or something like that, I can jump the scaling up to 2.0 and it'll stretch it out in that direction. If I put it in the y-axis, 2.0, it makes it fatter. And then if I want to put the other way, 2.0, and that's going to stretch it out length. So you can make them big, you can make them fat, small, skinny. Like if I turn this to 0.5 and then turn this to 0.5 and then apply it, it'll make it long and skinny. And I've used this in vehicles before and used them like shock absorbers, because I can rotate this on its end like that, things that I can't do, and get angles that I can't really get in the Creator without getting really, really advanced. Even I'm not that good at the Creator yet. But what you do, if you want to move around, you just move around with your WSD. Let me delete that shock because that's going to get kind of complicated. But over here on the or is it statistics? It's statistics. The statistics tabs gives you a list of your vehicle, what you've used on it, and gives you some basic specs. Right now it's telling me my creation. It doesn't really have a name. Its weight is 2.09 tons. Its volume, it's just telling you how much area that the liters it takes up, and then it gives me a selling price in meat, which is, if you played the game, the resources to get this meat, I would never sell my vehicle for that. I don't know anybody would sell it. The only thing I did find is the game has you can't sell some resources like dirt, but if you make something out of dirt, like say just fill this entire area with dirt and create a all dirt block of dirt, it sells for like 1,600 meat, and you can get some of the NPCs money that way. But also what we notice is that there it gives us some errors here, telling us that we have no visible voxels, which is just what we're the materials tab. We have no wheels, and we have no fuel cell. Okay. For placing wheels, you want to notice on your grid here the center of this thing is, let's center this thing up because I want my vehicle centered. If you look, there's 1.5 voxels on each side for that to be centered, and then for my engine to be centered, let's say, I don't know, it's somewhere around there. We'll figure it out in a minute. The next thing you want to notice is the reference plane. I can technically put a wheel down and then use the slider and drop below the reference plane. You can technically do that, but say if I went to build, I put a flat plane in here and I wanted to build like a suspension and make it look all detailed, you cannot build below this reference plane. So I advise that you don't really do that unless you're building a particularly large vehicle and you run out of room. You can build, dip some of your parts like the landing gear and stuff like that below it. But it's more advisable to use this reference plane slider over here and lift your vehicle up. That way I got a little bit of room to build below it, and then just bring your cockpit up to that point. And then when you bring like your engine up, it allows you to see your grid. And it's also good to check, like if you're, the top side of the engine, you can bring your grid up and go, okay, how many, 7 voxels on that side, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So I'm 7 on that side. So my engine is centered. So this is your reference plane, and you use that in numerous ways. It's not just basically a plane to build on, but you can bring it up and build below it and all that stuff. But there's other tricks that I'll show you for just basically once you've got something started, you can build off of what you've built off. So we'll delete the tire again. Now let me show you something in this little icon down here where it looks like a little plane with 2 arrows. That's actually the mirroring tool. And the mirroring tool, what it does, if you look up here, this is your axis. It tells you the size of the vehicle, and it tells you your dimensions. So each voxel is it takes 30 voxels to be a meter, and then I think each one of these grids right here is a actual meter, and then each one of these is your minor grid, which is 1/3 of a meter. So basically 10 voxels from here to here is 1/3 of a meter, and then this whole area is 1 meter. It doesn't really play into vehicles too much unless you're trying to build, say, a vehicle to fit in a certain size and to put in your garage or something. But it comes into play when you're building like objects and stuff like that, to build like countertops and stuff for your base, decorative things. But the mirror up here, Z is your front axis, here to front to back, X is your left to right, and Y is your top to down. So whatever you put, whatever axis you put on, so if I put on the Y axis, anything I build down here will duplicate itself on the top. Anything I build right here will duplicate itself from left to right. Anything I do on the Z axis will build front to back. So for placing wheels, I could put X and Z on, and I can just basically place, I think the wheels go this way, place one wheel, and it places everything symmetrically. And then by the same token, if I move any wheel that is linked while the mirroring on, now if you turn the mirroring off and you move one wheel, it will get out of sync with these other wheels, and it won't do this anymore. So if you move a wheel and you want to move the other one just as much, you can make sure you put the mirroring on before you move one. And if you do get them out of sync, what you can do is you can go here into the inspector, and it will give you these positions. And sometimes you can get them back into sync, or just delete the wheel and replace the back where you wanted it, and that'll resync them back up. And that's how I always place my wheels, because if you put one wheel at a time, you're always going to get this wheel, which is a left wheel, and you have to come in here and manually select right and select left and right wheels. I see so many people build vehicles with all left wheels. Okay, I accidentally put it up. Let me move my reference plane down and then move my wheels down to the reference plane. And then say you build a vehicle and you build it and it's too high, you can always just raise your wheels, and then when you place it down, it'll just drop this little bit out of the air, so it's no big deal. But for now, I'm going to turn the Z axis off because I don't want anything front to back to build. So say I can adjust just the front, and the back doesn't apply, but the left and right still applies. So, but I do want it to. And that's how, if you want to get a vehicle and you want to put a rake on it, you can just put that wheel down. Even though I'm building flat, when I put it in the game, the wheels will touch and it'll have a little rake on it. But for now, we just want to keep a very, very simple little buggy. And you can hide this window. And then always, when you're building a vehicle, always remember to come in here, select your set of front wheels, click this steering, and then click apply, and you get this little icon that tells me that this is steering, and it didn't apply for this one, so I got to go manually and do it. I don't know why it doesn't link up in the mirror sometimes, but that lets these wheels steer. Okay, so now I decided we want to come in here and we want to put the statistics say we do not have a fuel cell and we don't have visible voxels. And to complete the mission, we got to have a seat for Adisa. So I'm going to put it back here just for no reason. And if you watched any of my playthroughs, I always have followers, so I always put 2 seats. So both my followers, I usually send one off to work, but I usually want to have a fuel cell. And you can put multiple fuel cells. You can use 6 tires if you want, but you do need to kind of remember that you need to create these items. And so on a basic vehicle, if you found all your resources, it's usually not a problem to put multiple fuel cells. That way it'll let you have enough fuel in your vehicle. I find basically on a car, 1 fuel cell in the basic engine does enough to do the entire playthrough. And then I do like to turn them to where all the lights show, because it looks cool, fancy lights at nighttime and stuff. So let's put that down there, and refresh it, and that'll add this to your list and tell you need 2 side seats, 2 fuel cells, 1 engine, 4 wheels, and a cockpit. But it says no visible voxels. So what you want to do is we want to build just a reference plane, and I'm going to kind of build this based on what we would have early game. So materials wise, basically in the meteor you've collected wood, which is down here, default wood, and you have iron available to you from the meteorite crater, which is right here, default iron. And then you have copper in the meteorite crater right here, default copper. And if you look around a bit, you can find some silver and some gold. It's not too far from base. And you will have sand. Believe it or not, you can build perfectly working sand vehicles if you want it. But also, if you look in the, I think they've been removed from here. But if you look in the build menu, they have all these same materials. They give you the durability for each one of these items. I think wood is 155, glass is ties wood 155. I think steel is over like 500. So early game, you could build a pretty good working iron vehicle, and it will have a high durability. I usually build wood vehicles. Believe it or not, they work, and then I just put a little iron in them to make them a little more durable, like for the axles and stuff like that. I always build semi-realistic. So once you selected your material, you have all these brushes down here, and you bring your reference plane up where you want to start, and I want to start with a base. So I always use the square, which it's just, you can sit here and you can just place one voxel at a time, which will take forever, but you could do it if you want it. Let's see, I forgot how to do this. Okay, delete material. Okay, and when I'm building, I always keep the inspector open, because that is how you delete if you just accidentally put something in a wrong spot. And you can just drag out one side of this thing and just let it copy. Like, say I want to start right here. Just drag a little bit past that line and then come out and then click it. If you want to bring it something up, you drag it out, you let go of your mouse, then bring it up, then click it. And to delete something, you I just right click, that brings up this menu, and you can just select like that plane and come over here and it says delete, and it'll just delete that plane. If I want to say just hollow this out, I can just go delete and just hollow that section out. If I want to go all the way through an item, you can select hit the plus key and select depth. And if you hit the plus key, it says it's plus 16 right now. So what that's going to do is delete 16 voxels deep. So it'll delete selection. And then just remember the negative key puts it back to where you're working on one single voxel. So that's how basically you can create items, drag items out, and put it back on again. If you want to just like remove complete areas of stuff, just put the thing up real high, drag this whole area out, delete selection, and it removes it. But I prefer just to, like, some people like to build, like, fill a whole area and then delete stuff. I prefer to just like add stuff on, like, just add it, come back, like doing diagonals. I'll just come back and just add stuff like that. Let me get rid of the reference plane. The reference plane actually annoys me once I've started building, because I like to just hang pieces on. So like, say I just want to come out with a diagonal, you can just go 2 box back, and you can do, add a little, diagonal piece, just 2 boxes back like that. Okay. Another thing you can do is, like, if you want to, like, let's say select a voxel, I think it's shift and then the direction you want to go, like back, forward, left. I can't see it. Okay, you just hit your arrow keys, not your WSD, but your arrow keys off to the right, and you can just, oops, I didn't want that. But yeah, you can basically just hold down shift and just keep building this way. Just basically like Pac-Man, just keep adding to it. And that's how I build a lot of my first vehicles. They all look kind of stealthy and square and triangle, because it's easiest building triangles like this. And then if you just want to like fill something, you can always go back and just go to your basic brush and just kind of like, you know, say fill this and then go, oh, I still want to keep that. You can just right click, delete selection, right click, delete selection, and that's how basically if you want to build and then subtract. Or you can use the arrow keys and, you know, just walk everything the direction you want. Basically all you need for this, basically you can literally go to this statistic and put one voxel down, and you don't really have to have the wheels connected, the seat connected. You don't have to have axles. You don't have to have anything for this to pass the test. You just place one voxel of steel down and it will actually function, but it won't be very durable. If you notice, you keep hitting this refresh. As I add more material, the durability goes up. So that's basically how much damage. And when you first build your first vehicle, it's pretty labor intensive. So you kind of just want to build something that's pretty durable, but you don't want to build it so heavy that that the engine, because you can actually overload the engine to where it still will move, but it just will be really, really, really pokey. Another thing is, as you're moving around, if you get lost or you can't get the angle you want, select on a voxel and just hit F, and it'll center to where you're working on, and your mouse wheel controls the speed of the camera. Moving forward makes it less sensitive. Moving the mouse wheel back makes it more sensitive, and I find that kind of annoying because it's kind of counterintuitive. But as long as I have this mirroring on, anything I do on one side, it'll do on the other side. So I always, when I'm creating a vehicle, if it's symmetrical, I always leave that on. Sometimes when I'm creating aircraft and stuff like that, I will actually leave all the, or boats is the hardest, I leave all the symmetry on. And let's go ahead and put an iron axle in here because we don't want a wooden axle. That's just ridiculous. Another thing you can do is, say I put all these parts, I got them where I want them. Now I can't get in to see my axle. I'm like, man, I cannot see. Instead of deleting this stuff, what you can do is you could go back to parts. You can go, well, actually you can do it in the materials. You can hit hide parts, and you're like, okay, well, now I can't see where I want to put my axle because the wheels are not there. What you can do is you can go back into parts, and let's say we want this fuel cell. Click hide part, click this, it's visible model, hide it, and then now that's out the way. It's still there, and if you wanted something to look cool, say you just don't want them fuel cells, I don't like the way they look, or say you want to build something that looks like a little bitty go-kart engine in here instead of that engine, you can just build inside of this area and build like a little go-kart engine and make it look, you know, if you just want something silly looking or you want for realistic reasons, by all means fill this area up. But for axles, what I usually do is I bring my reference plane one down from center and use the cylinder tool. Now you don't get a lot from the cylinder tool when you're making small things. It usually works for bigger things, but I'm going to go 2 by 2, and if you notice when I drag it out, it shows a circle in this area. You hit the tab key to change which way the cylinder's going. It's going up and down this way. Now it's going long ways. I don't know which, front to back, then up again. So we want it long ways. So I'm just going a 2 by 2. And notice it doesn't really give me a cylinder. Anything creating small items like this, if you wanted an actual cylinder, let me see, tab, you'd want to keep your numbers the same, like 10 by 10, and then draw it out. It will draw a pretty good cylinder, but as you start doing like 3 by 3, I think that was 3 by 2, but you start getting diminishing returns where like a 2 by 2 is basically the same thing as a 2 by 2 square, because the way the engine works, I mean, it's a little bit different, but it's not much difference because of the way the engine rounds these things out. Some of these things have diminishing returns, like the cone. You know, the cones actually make pretty good cones. I find that's good for like fins for airplanes and stuff like that. Just make a thin cone instead of trying to make a you know, make your blades and stuff like that. A one by whatever cone makes a better blade than anything you can do. So that's what the cone's good for. And then the sphere tool makes good ovals. Like if you want, ooh, that's the cone tool. The sphere tool will make good ovals and stuff like that. So, and then if you get to say like I got all this crap in my way, and you can hit Shift Z, or is it Control Z? I forget. Or you can just hit this back button. I think in the game it's Shift Z. In this one you can just hit the back button and it takes it out. But say I build my little axle, the wheels ain't 100% on it. You can just go back to parts and move my wheels exactly on the axle. In the game it really doesn't matter because the tires move up and down a little bit. You know, and if I wanted to keep it level, of course I'd have to go and move this one accordingly. That looks like it's a little high. Yep, that's right. Okay, and then if you want to, if I leave that visible model on when I put it in the game, it will actually not be seen in the game. So if you want that stuff, actually put it in the game. And then what I normally do, I don't like this square, so just go back to materials, select out this area, go back to delete selection, and let's just delete selection, go one less each time. Oops, missed that one. One less each time, and we'll make it kind of pointy. And basically the same way you build this way, you build, you know, if I want to put doors on this thing, I would, you know, just delete selection until I get, you know, what I want. And then say like right here, I kind of messed up a little bit, so you just come back and, oops, I got the cylinder tool on. And you just go into it and then delete selection. If I want to put doors on here, you do it kind of just like you do in build mode. Select wood, and you just kind of drag it out, let go of the mouse, bring it up. You know, and if you just want to angle it, you can, I think if you hold, you right click, I think, no, it's shift. Yeah, if you want to like, say I got this and I just want to angle it, you can hold down shift and you can just select, oh, I got some depth on there. Okay, shift. You can, if you hold down shift, you can come back here and you can just add what you want to delete. So if I want to do an angle all in one swoop, I can come in and just do this, and then say I get to right here and I want all of this gone, and then I can hit delete selection and it'll remove just that section. Or if I wanted to, I can use the triangle tool. I don't use it that much, and I'll show you why. Tab, tab. Unless you use a even, like a basically an even number, you get all these jaggedies in here anytime you build with an angle. But it is very useful if, say, like you want to put, say, a side on a car and you want it to be angled. You can hit tab and bring it the direction you want, and then what you can do is come here and select this whole area and then hit, oh wait, I'm trying to move my camera, move everything at once. Okay, let's select the whole thing and then hit I gotta shift back, and that way you can get, like, say, a hood of a car at a specific angle that you want it smooth. You'll always, unless you find a creative way to tuck this in, you'll always end up with those little jaggies on the end. And then when you're building vehicles, you go back to the statistics, you notice the weight starts to get a little high. It doesn't really play into vehicles, but say I want this to be the side of my aircraft. What I can do is I can hit the depth, make sure it's deeper than what I'm working on. And once you build something in, okay, I got a good 45 depth. That's pretty good. What I can do is I can come in here and hit my shift key, and I can come down the same way. And let's, you always want to, when you're doing angles, leave 2 to 3 voxels so you don't put holes in the material. But this is how you lighten stuff up. You put a lot of depth in it, and then just add, and just keep adding what you want to get rid of. And oh man, I messed up. Let me do it. Let me just do it real quick. Okay, go back to my suspector, delete selected, and then go delete selected. I was going to try to make it all pretty in one move, but you could do it just one voxel at a time and go delete selected, because we're doing 45 voxels deep when we do it this way, because I've hit the plus key and brought it up to 45. And that's how you get your smooth edges, but you can only usually do it on one side, which is when you're creating aircraft, it's no big deal, because the back side, the inside of the vehicle is usually hidden, so you can put all that ugliness. And that's basically the trade-off you have to give when you want to create different angles. But I'm going to go ahead and undo this all the way back, because essentially we do have a car. Okay, I've went past the limit of what I can delete. So what I'm going to do is another thing, when you're selecting voxels, if you see this little triangle, when you right click on something, you get a red. If I'm set 45 voxels deep, if I select this, it's going to go left to right 45 voxels. If I go up and down, I click the green, it's going to select my depth down. And so now I could just pull that out and just delete this whole selection. So that's how you get stuff into the game. And it's basically just, oops, no, my axle's there. My axle is there. Let's go ahead and I'll just show you how I build like a little I usually build like little casters, and what I do is I just bring my reference plane, up to almost the center of the wheel. I go into the wheel a little bit. I go like maybe 2 by 3 by 2. I do that, and then get my reference plane down. And then what I do is I always make like a steering assembly. One of my things I do hobby-wise is RC cars. So I like things to be realistic. So I always build like a little steering knuckle assembly. And what I do is I just basically, I think I go more than that. Let me put more. No, I want it like that. Yeah. And then what I do is I usually come out. I think I go more. Yeah, I go more than that. 4. It doesn't really. You don't have to do this. I do it for realism, but I mean, the more you get, if you're just playing the game and you just want to get past a mission, basically you could put 1 voxel down and you're done. But if you want to master this, just take your time. Go into build mode where you got unlimited resources. You can download this thing. I could put it in there and go, oh man, I hate this. I hate this one part about it. Go back in there, change it, re-export it into your game. You can change it as many times as you want. There's no penalty. Like, see, that touches, oops. That touches right there. I don't like that. Another thing I've done very early on is I've accidentally built like diamond into my vehicle and got this awesome vehicle, and I'm like, I can't export it because it has diamond in it. Okay, let me hold the shift and see, I want to bring this back so it doesn't connect. So I can just shift all those voxels, boom, and it still connects. So let's shift another one. Let's take another one off until it stops connecting, because it will do some weird little patterns sometimes. I could show you real quick with some like gold. If you want to make grading, you can come in here and shift and do like every other. I think you can get away with a checkerboard pattern, I think. Let's see. Yeah, delete selection. That's how you get grading. Just do a checkerboard pattern. You get a little grading. I like to put like little footsteps sometimes, and then just add little grading. Let me turn my depth off. It's the positive and your negative key, and delete selection. But basically, we have the vehicle. It's in there. I can export it right now. If you're just trying to get the mission, you don't really care about it, you know, doing this part, you don't have to. You really don't. That's the best part about this game, is it's sandbox. You can do whatever you want. But I think this is actually the best part of the game. I build something, and then I get an idea for something else. The next thing you know, I'm tabbing out and I'm looking up a reference picture for something, and then I start building something completely, different. And then let's put like a hot rod, drop the front end on this. You put one, and then I'm getting a little rusty in this already. Okay, and then we come down off of that one. And then let me get underneath this thing. Or I can just go hide parts. That'll help too. And see, that's basically a little bitty steering knuckle. And you can come in here and I really don't like the editor in windowed mode. I normally run it full screen. I keep accidentally clicking the outside my box and it closes off, and then you can put a little steering knuckle, just stuff like that. If you just want to make it realistic, you just basically, I find you basically can't build anything in a few minutes. You have to really want to do it and spend the time to do it. And it just takes time, adding little bit by little bit. And if you are in story mode, don't be afraid to export something like this just to get you through the missions. Because when you get your base, you can just throw it in a recycle machine. You get all these parts back. Then you can go and rechange your design, add some more seats, make it bigger, put a more powerful engine in it, and then like if say you just want better wheels on it, put the rubber wheels on it. You'll have better suspension, and basically once you get your base, you always have these parts forever. Then the last thing you want to do is you could come in here into paint, and there's two ways to paint. Like, you can select your color. Like, I don't go always black because it basically looks like nothing in the game. I always go like 5% for black. It gives it a little bit of matte to it. And then you can come here and you can select the no, that's eraser. You can come here to spray paint, and you can do this, but it's going to get all over everything. You can adjust the radius all the way down to 0.5 voxels, and I can come in here and just paint half a voxel. So you can get small lines, but it's very difficult and very frustrating to do that. Or you can just go full out, and I can basically make this whole thing in just a couple passes and do it. My preferred painting method is just leave this selection brush, and if you do this, fill color. That way it doesn't get on anything you don't want. Paint it. Now, I don't recommend on your first vehicle you paint it, because you don't get the thing to the pigment from Adisa till you get a few quests in, and if you don't have that quest done, you cannot build the pigment. So you have this great looking vehicle that needs 1,000 pigment that you just do not have. So on your first vehicle, you probably just want to leave it not colored. But once you start getting into the game and you got a colony and stuff like that, just come in here and you just drag select, fill color, and you see how fine of a line that made, instead of me having to try to do that. And then say like I go I think 25% is a good like gunmetal gray color, and then I'll select my axle, fill color, and then fill color. This is the way I paint. It uses more pigment, because when you select like this, you are telling it to paint all sides of the voxel. So keep that in mind with your pigment, because you will run into situations where you got a small vehicle like this that uses 1,000 pigment, and you're like, oh my god, why? And it's because I'm painting all sides of the voxel, which is a good thing and a bad thing, because I've gotten to situations where I can't match the color, and I go and it also works if I hold shift. I can still come in here and just select all of that and then go fill color, and I can hit it again, fill color. Okay, and then let's do that back axle just for the fun of it. I hold shift. Oops, what is going on here? Why is it? Oh, because I created it with a cylinder. See, it's got all these extra voxels. It was trying to make a cylinder, it adds more voxels. So if you're doing a 4x4 like that, matter of fact, I'm going to remove that because it doesn't matter here. But you can see it's literally painting more material because we're trying to do a cylinder. And sometimes it's hard to paint something like this. You'll notice it when you start trying to do more complex curves and stuff like that, that more complex stuff takes a lot more pigment, because to create all these contours it has to use more voxels to actually make the shape that's shown. So you notice it's taking me a lot more to fill this color because I used the hex tool. And then let's just go like a bright red for the wood. And see, I don't want to mess up my paint down there, so I can just go fill color. And you'll notice sometimes it'll spill over like that, but you could come back with the brush, and what I do is I just touch them up, fill color, and I get in a habit of writing my colors down too. That way you don't ever have to repaint something just because you can't match the color right. And you notice whatever I do on the top is painting on the bottom because it's doing all the voxels. And then I'm just missing a little section here. I'll fill color, and then I just look it over and say I don't like this, so I just go back to all black, all white, and then go down to my 5% and put it on the paintbrush material, go to that 0.5 and come in here and go, oh, I don't have it on the brush, and just touch it up. Touch up things you just don't like. That's what the 0.5 voxel is good at. That's basically the only thing I use it for. Like, I don't like this red in here, so I just I didn't paint the end of my things. Okay, so there we go. There we got us a vehicle. Once you got us your vehicle, you got it painted. It's not the prettiest thing, but it gives you an idea. I will do more of these and show more complicated stuff. You can also add decals, and the decals work the same way. You drag them up. You can go to the inspector, or oh wait, I gotta select the decal. Go to inspector, and you can change the size of this, like 0.5, apply, and it gets bigger, but 0.333, apply, and you can add decals. You can create custom decals. I haven't really got into that much. Let me delete this one and show you how you can change. Like, let's pick this one. We can put that on there. And we can go in here and it glows. It's gonna glow. If I want to go blue like the fuel cells, just come over here and put a blue and click apply, and it's gonna glow. Well, it's not quite the fuel cell color, but let's bring it down more to the white. Apply. Okay, now it's gonna kind of glow like the fuel cell color. And it's supposed to work. Diffuse supposed to not do that, but for some reason diffuse kind of does this. I don't know what it does. I've never used it, but emission always gives you a glow effect, and I always like that. So I always you can change it red. If you just go and put a PNG square like red, you can just size them out to like tail lights and make them glow red. And stuff doesn't have to touch. Stuff doesn't have to make sense. It will work no matter what. When you finish your vehicle, I always turn all the mirroring and all that stuff. I don't think it'll take a picture of it, but I always bring my plane down, and then I get a good view of it. and we're going to go to the save button. This is just save if you make a change, and this is to save as if you want to take a picture. So like I got my vehicle, get a good thing. This is what's going to appear in your inventory. So I always do a background color. I always do green for land vehicles, blue for a light blue for boats, and then a dark blue for aircraft. It's just a habit I got into. Makes finding my vehicles, or just some kind of contrasting color like red and green capture, and then that'll show. And if you don't like it, you can move it, you can zoom in more and recapture it. No big deal. Give it a name, red wood car. And then you could put a description if you want to upload it to Planet ISO Explorers for other people to use. Put your name right here, so every time somebody, you know, uses it, they know who built it. And then you could put a description. If it has any kind of special abilities, like it jumps good, it flies good, or it's super fast, add it in right here, and then just click save, and it tells you you've saved it. And then now we can export it. And if you have the 2 iron, the 13 wood, the 81 pigment, and all these parts, you can export it. Since I'm in build mode, I do have all that stuff. So let's go ahead and export it. It tells me my creation is exported successfully, and then we'll jump out of build mode. And then we'll look in our inventory under items. It's usually at the very end. And there's my little buggy, or car, or whatever you want to do. And you just walk up to it, get on, use the WASD keys to drive, and there it is. Before we go, I can show you real quick how fancy, if you just stick to it. And like I said, if I just wanted to upload another, I could sit here and export 100 of these if I wanted to, because I have unlimited resources. So if you're in this part of story mode and you're like, man, I don't know how to build a vehicle, or I only got so many resources, come into build mode and play around with it, because you can do unlimited numbers. This is something I've been working on. If I could find it. Once you want to find it, you want to come to ISOs, then go to vehicle, and let's see. If you got something you want to work on and you want to change it, just come down here and select an ISO. Like, see, this one is, I forgot which one I selected, but you see I put these suspension arms in here and they're all jerky. What I did is I built this little buggy and I played with it in the game for a little while, and then I'm like, man, I really don't like that blockiness of the arms. Let's see if I could do something about it. So what I did is I started playing around with, it's called Voxel deflation, and you can actually get pretty smooth. I mean, it's not super smooth. I haven't figured it 100% out, but this is what I've created. And let me export it and bring it into the game real quick, and you can see what's something that if you just put I probably have like 6 hours into that little, if not more, into this little buggy. But it's not much bigger than my basic little car, but it has 5 fuel cells, and it's got the top of the line engine in it. It uses the rubber wheels, which I find are way better. It has some little turrets in case somebody gets in your way. Let me get on it. If you look at the lights, I sunk them in to kind of create like a little cat-eye look, and then I use some at the top. I do need to work on the roll bar though, because with the male figure, his head sticks to the top. The female's a little shorter. So, but this thing, It does almost 80 kilometers an hour. Oh, I wish I wouldn't have my... let me close down my inventory. E, let me get out, close down my inventory. It does almost 80 kilometers an hour. It doesn't take the damage at that other vehicle. If I went 80 kilometers an hour, it still takes damage if I hit something, but if I go... It takes damage every now and then, but basically I could fly across this terrain full speed pretty much, and if I kind of make sensible choices with the direction, instead of aiming for the peaks, kind of aim for the valleys and kind of try to land on the softer spots, you can take less damage. But the better wheels let you do that, and you can shoot, and your weapons do draw from your fuel cells. They don't use bullets. You don't have to reload them or farm up bullets. They use energy out of your fuel tanks. So that's why I basically say 2 fuel cells is for the top of the line engine and 3 fuel cells are for these 2 guns in case I get in any kind of trouble. Somebody's in my way or something like that. I want to move them out the way. I can shoot them. So I hope this helps some of you guys out. I look forward to doing some more. Next time I'll kind of get into aircraft, and then we'll do like swords and custom guns and stuff like that. So till next time, see you guys later.